now we turn our attention to a spooky story. For more than 300 years, people living all around Hampton Roads have heard the infamous stories of Grace Sherwood, the Witch of Pungo.
The woman accused of being a witch in the 1700s, believed to have turned into a duck to escape death. Of course, this is one of the many stories associated with Sherwood, but the which of them is true? That is the question.
Danielle Seda is looking to find the answer.
Here in Williamsburg is a trove of Virginia history, including the alleged witch trial of a Princess Anne County woman. Right here is the Capitol building, a place where Grace Sherwood would have been tried if charged with murder. But the question is, was she even guilty to begin with? In a play called Cry Witch, tourists are turned into jurors and given a glimpse of the past.
Gentlemen, I have done nothing wrong. I say to you now, as I have maintained into the past, I had nothing whatsoever to do with Constable Gisburn's misfortune.
Rachel Island Hall is the lead of the play called Cry Witch in Williamsburg. The plot of the production based on the 1706 trial of Grace Sherwood.
Neither with his livestock nor with his crops.
While made to be theatrical, there are elements of Sherwood's real 8-year prosecution, according to director Catherine Pittman.
One of the main testimonies that we utilize in the current version of the production is as much verbatim as we can from the 1706 trial, wherein one of the witnesses named Elizabeth Barnes is testifying.
Other people's cotton becomes blighted. Other people's pigs die, and yet no one is accused of being a witch.
The stage for Cry Witch is inside the Colonial Williamsburg Capitol building. But the real trial didn't take place there, though it would have if Sherwood was found guilty of a felony, according to Pittman.
It was on the English law books as far as what to do as far when somebody is accused of being a witch. Generally speaking, it would not come to the general court of Virginia unless, number one, it was a second offense, or if the loss of life was involved.
So Grace herself was not accused of that. What Luke Hill said that she had done was, quote, "She bewitched my wife," with no other details.
But according to Al Tuning, the president of the Princess Anne County Virginia Beach Historical Society, there's a little bit more to the story.
At some point, she got in an argument with Mrs. Hill, who slapped her. And so it was her husband that, he still believed in witches. And it had to have been a witch that possessed her for her to act that way. So when he went to court, he was like, yes, she is a witch.
But it wasn't enough to try Sherwood in Williamsburg, so instead she was tried again in Princess Anne County, receiving a trial by water, which is where the rumor of her turning into a duck to escape punishment started. Tuning says Sherwood was more than likely less of a witch duck and more of an odd duck in her community.
In those days, it was very segregated. Women do these things, men do these things, but she crossed that line. It's rumored that she even wore men's clothes just because they were more comfortable.
Documentation from the Virginia Historical Society shows it's possible some people did think Sherwood was a witch, but others may have used the law to punish an unlikable neighbor.
It's not as though somebody saw her conducting a spell out in her backyard and said, verifiably, you are a witch. It seemed to be more of a he said, she said, let me see how often I can take you to court and call you a witch.
Island Hall says Cry Witch allows present-day audience members to decide for themselves.
I ask your understanding, sirs, on these foolish charges of witchcraft.
While there are people who do find her guilty, there are others who think the accusations are personal attacks against an innocent person instead of hocus pocus.
But the more records I read, the more convinced I am that Grace Sherwood was the only sane woman in Princess Anne County.
In Williamsburg and Virginia Beach, Danielle Seda, News 3.